Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, May the 30th. This is Marg with Creative Stamping with Marg. Today we're going to do a card that features the Sweet Citrus stamp set and dies. And I will be using a couple of other things, and I'll show you. This set also comes with an embossing folder, and it's a hybrid, so that means that some of the dies work inside of the embossing folder. So we've got that there today, and the layout is based on banners. So I will show you what we've got. So our card base is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and it's going to be a side fold, so it will open this way. This is Flirty Flamingo. The next piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I cut it that way because I just want a very slim border, like 1/8 of an inch around. So that's why it's cut that way. It can be cut 4 by 5 1/4 if you're not into the eighths. This was embossed with the embossing folder that I showed you, the Sweet Citrus embossing folder. So it's gorgeous, really deep embossing on it, and it's done on petal pink. So that's going to be our next layer. Then I've got 2 banners, and this one is 1 1/2 inches by 5, and I've banner cut the end. Now, we no longer have a banner punch, but we did, and that's what I use. But you can just cut with your scissors, cut straight in, and then just cut from each corner. So there's one banner, and this one is 1 inch by, and I can't remember now, 4 1/2. And again, I've banner cut it. Now the paper I've used is the online exclusive Hello Irresistible paper, and these are the 2 sheets that I used. I used the back side of this sheet for the one banner. That's this one. I used this sheet, which is the back side, and the back side of this one, which has got a little lighter shade in it, which I thought went with the petal pink. So that's what the other one was cut from. All right, so like I said, the basis of this card is going to be using banners, and I will show you a couple of other alternatives that I've made using retired paper. But so the premise is you've got a layer, then your banners, then you have some kind of a focal point, a die cut, a fussy cut piece, something like that, and your greeting. Now the greeting is from, I've already done the stamping. The greeting is from Sweet Citrus, sending you a big squeeze. And I don't know if you can see on here or not, if I bring it closer. I stamped off the flower stamp in here, the little flower stamp, and I stamped it in the backgrounds just to give it some interest. So there needs to be a greeting. And then my focal point is going to be, out of this set, you have leaves. Oh, sorry, glare on there. You have leaves and you have flowers. So I stamped a bunch of the flowers and some leaves. The leaves I did in petal pink, stamped off. So I've got a bunch of them here. I may not use them all. And I've got a bunch of flowers, and I cut the flowers, did the flowers, stamped them, and die cut them in Flirty Flamingo and petal pink. There's big ones and there's little ones. And I've cut a whole bunch of them just so that I have lots to play with. So they're faintly stamped and then die cut out. So that's going to be kind of my focal point. Now, what I did ahead of time is I layered 2 of the flowers, a little one on top of a big one, and I put a iridescent rhinestone in the center of it. So I think I'll be using those. So I have one in Flirty Flamingo and one in petal pink. And like I said, I've got a bunch of other little flowers that we might be using. And I decided to go with Very Vanilla for my greeting and for my inside. I hardly ever use Very Vanilla. So I thought, oh, this kind of lends itself to it instead of white. So that's why these things are stamped on the Very Vanilla. I've also pulled out the Essential Baker's Twine pack, which comes with 5 different rolls of Baker's Twine, because it has Very Vanilla in it. So I thought I'm going to use some of that. I've never used it. So I made a little bow ahead of time, and we'll see if we're going to use that or not. I think I'm going to need some different adhesive for some of these things. All right. I also have a very thin, I think it's 1/8 of an inch strip that was a leftover strip. And I thought I might be using that in the inside. So I keep all my pieces. All right, so let's get going and put this card together. Just move these things out of the way. Oh, I didn't mention that I used deckled rectangles to cut this. It's got a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to need my adhesive eraser to get that cleaned off. All right, so let's move this out of the way. I'll just put all my flowers and all my things up there. And the first thing we're going to do is glue our embossed layer on. So I am going to use liquid glue. I would suggest liquid glue or tear and tape for this, because if you don't get enough glue on an embossed layer, it tends to sort of warp and pop up. So you'll want to get a fair amount of glue on it so it doesn't do that. And sometimes I even sit something heavy on top of it while it's drying so that it won't warp. So you can decide which way you want to put this. I don't think it has it definitely doesn't have a right or a wrong. The fruit is all over the place. Whoops. See how that has a little wiggle room there. Okay, so I'm layering that on, and now you can see I just have that 1/8 of an inch border of Flirty Flamingo, which I really like the look of that. Okay, so there's that. Now we have to decide where we're going to put our banners. Are they going to be at the bottom, at the top? How are we going to layer them? And you can do it any way you like. I kind of was thinking I might put them, not sure, the bottom, and maybe put my greeting up here like that. And then I'm going to place the flowers. I think what I'd like to do maybe is you can stagger your banners. And then I thought maybe I would build all of the flowers and the leaves and everything at the end of the banners. And then I could just put my greeting at the bottom. Not exactly sure what I want to do. Okay, well, I think we'll start by putting this banner down first. So I am just going to glue it. Both of these being just designer series paper. They're very lightweight and simple to glue down. So I will do that now. I'll glue this one right here. And I'm just eyeballing to make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to glue the other one down. And I think I might stagger it a little bit on the end here. You can always trim these banners. They don't have to be this length. You can trim them to your liking. So if they're not fitting your idea, you can do whatever you like with them. I think I'm just going to stagger mine a little bit. Like that. Okay. That looks good. And I haven't decided. Maybe that greeting's going to go like that. And now the leaves come in a pair, and I have folded them in the middle, and I have taken either your, I like a pen or something like that, slimmer, and get them to roll a little bit around the pen, and then it gives them a little bit of dimension. Now, if you don't want to use two together, of course, you can cut them apart, but I kind of thought maybe, I just have to watch so I'm not covering up my words, maybe I'm going to decorate it this way. I've got lots of flowers to play with, and oops, lots of flowers to play with. You know, I could put a few like this. You know, you can do whatever you like. Maybe I want to move that all the way over to the end. I'm sort of taking away, I think, from my banners that I've cut there. So maybe I want to move these over like that. I think that's better because then you can see the banner cuts on the ends. That makes more sense to me. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this greeting up on dimensionals, and then I can tuck everything else underneath. So I will put, I think I'll put 3 dimensionals down the middle, and then that'll allow me to tuck in on the edges. Okay, so getting those backings off. There we go. All right, so I think I'm going to put it right about here. Just like that, sending you a big squeeze. And I thought on the inside, I might stamp, have a zesty birthday on this there. All right, so how am I going to arrange? And you know what? I might do it like this, not evenly, but like that. Maybe that's what I want to do. You know, I might do something like that and then just put a bunch of little guys here. I think that may be what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on the back of this flower and glue it to my leaves. So it's like that. All right. And I think what I'll do with this one is I'll glue these little flowers that I've stamped. I will glue them right onto my leaf like that, and maybe another one like that. Just overlap them a little bit like that, and I'll put this one on the top. Kind of like this one's got a little darker stamping on it. And just put this one in the middle like that. Okay. Then, thank goodness for my silicone mat because I'm making kind of a mess here. Of course, it all just gets rubbed off when I'm finished. All right. All right, so this one needs to be up on dimensionals to be the same height as our greeting. So I brought in some minis, the little mini dimensionals. If you don't have these, you can always cut your regular dimensionals. But these will work good on the leaves. Take the backings off. And I think I might want to put a little bit of glue just on my flower petal, just where it's going to touch my greeting. And then it'll stay there like that. And then those are up in dimensional, so it's on the same plane. And then this one is going to be tucked underneath, so I'm just going to glue the back of the leaf down partially like that. I think that looks good. Okay, and I think I might put this one over here. So it's going to need a mini dimensional on it also to be on the same plane, and I'll just put on one of the petals. And then when I will add some ink, some glue just to these 2 petals. And then it will go like this. There. All right. I like that. Looks good. And I did tie a baker's twine bow, which I had said already. And am I going to use it or not? Maybe I could tuck it in here. This is the hardest part, finishing it all off. Maybe I want to just tuck the bow under there. I don't know if I really want it after all. Maybe I like it there best. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get a glue dot, and I will roll it a little bit because it's a bit too big. So what you do is you take your glue dot and you just roll it. This is the take your pick tool, is so good for this. Just roll it up so it's more of a blob than a circle, and you can put it either where you want it on your card. That sometimes is easier, and sometimes getting it off your your pick tool is a little difficult because you've manipulated it a little bit, but that's good. And then put your knot right on it. And if it's sticking out a little bit and you don't want to be able to see it, take your pick tool and tuck it in. And usually that will work for you. And hold things down. There. All right, I'm happy with that. That looks good. And then on the inside, I do have this strip of paper, which I thought I might put in here. And there's my, maybe just put it like that. I do need my adhesive eraser because it takes all those. I see there's a little bit of glue bits on here. I don't know where this was, but anyway, that's all right. So I'm going to glue this strip down. And so I'm just going to, I know it's the right length, so that's good. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on it, like that. And I will put it up fairly high because my little piece that I'm using for my writing, I'm going to overlap it like this. And I think I might stick a little flower on it on the inside also. You could also stamp on this part with your flowers. But I'm thinking, you know, I might put, I've got all these flowers left that I punched out. I might just put a couple of these flowers down on here. Maybe up in this corner. So these have to be glued flat down. I don't put things on the inside on dimensionals usually. Like that. I've got one more. Maybe I'll do a third one. Why not? I knew I stamped a bunch for a reason. There we go. There. So there's the inside of our card. There's the outside. All right. So just to review what we used here, I used the Sweet Citrus bundle and the embossing folder that comes with that. I use some iridescent rhinestones. I used the deckled rectangles for the inside, and my greeting, sorry, not my greeting, my tag shape came from the Something Fancy dies. Right there. So that's my tag shape, this one right here that I had. All right. So that's our card for today. Now, I did have some other cards using the same premise where you have a layer, banners, a greeting, and some focal point. So this one I had done, and it's going to be in one of my classes that I'm going to do next month. Again, it has an embossed layer. It is a retired folder, and then two banners, exactly the same as those banners, a focal point, which was the trees that I die cut. I did use some twine on this one around the embossed piece, and there's my greeting. And I did use a banner greeting on that one. And then the inside, I stamped some trees on it and a piece of DSP, and again, a deckled rectangle. So exactly the same premise, exactly. And I've turned my card, it's opening a different way, but exactly the same idea. Now this one is done exactly the same. Again, I have a layer, I have two banners, I have a focal point, and I have a greeting. Now, this one is, I don't have an embossing folder. I don't have any dies to cut out my focal point. So these were cut out with dies, but you could choose a paper where you can fussy cut things out, and these flowers could have been fussy cut out, and the leaves. And I just did exactly the same thing, same measurements, same. But for this, instead of embossing a piece, I used a piece of DSP behind it, designer series paper, and I used cardstock for my banners this time instead of designer series paper. And this one opens this way. And again, I used a deckled rectangle, and I used a piece of DSP, and I banner cut it for the inside. So if you don't have the stamp cut and emboss machine, you can always use what you've got, DSP, fussy cut something, and cut your banners. So exactly the same layout as the card we made today, just done a little bit differently, not using all the tools. All right, so there we have it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, I sure appreciate a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like, and you'll not miss any of my Tuesday videos. Okay, we're into a new month. Next video, it will be June, so I will see you then. Have a great week. Bye-bye.